As they filter in, they'll just have to catch up, but we'll get started just to keep us on schedule. First, here at the faculty, we'd like to acknowledge the land in which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in this land. So first, welcome to Graduate Open House. Our first session is on today's programming, we're going to start with application requirements along with financial aid options if you become a student. Every hour after that, a graduate program director will be introducing their respective program. They'll talk about their program, and you have your opportunity to learn about each program and ask questions along the way. We ask that you wait till end of each session to ask questions. For example, like this one, I'm going to present the admission requirements, and my colleague Elizabeth is going to present the financial aid requirements, or excuse me, the financial aid options. And we just ask that you save questions till after that. After the first session, which is starting right now, we will have a small break, and then we'll resume programming at 2 p.m. You're welcome to take a look around the first floor of the faculty. It is considered open space, and there are some galleries you can check out. You can check out the Changing Atmospheres gallery down in our basement gallery, along with the Larry Wayne Richards eyeball exhibit. Both very cool things to check out, or if you just want to wait until we start up programming again at 2, you're more than welcome to do so. And of course, during that break, I'll be in the Commons if you feel like you want to ask more one-on-one questions, if that's more comfortable for you. So let's get right into the overview of graduate admissions and financial aid here at the faculty. My name is Alex Schmidt. I'm a recruitment and admissions associate here at the faculty, along with my colleague Elizabeth Gibson, and she's an associate registrar in financial aid and awards. I'm going to start with the admissions requirements, and then we'll get to financial aid. So we're going to do a quick admissions overview. First, we're going to do a list of the programs. If you are here, you're very familiar with the programs available here at the faculty. And of course, they're going to be gone into very much depth later on in each individual session. So we're just going to give you a brief overview of what they are. But again, like I said, the more in-depth exploration is going to happen in the sessions. We're going to go over the application requirements, the minimum academic requirements, the application and transcript, and then the supporting documents. Because there are kind of two parts and two deadlines to the application process, so we want to make sure that we're clear on what's due, when it's due, and what is expected when submitting. And then we'll cover some prerequisite courses, because some of the programs that we're going to go through today have specific prerequisites. May it be a professional program or a professional degree holder, or having specific experience with your undergrad degree. Steps to apply, dates and deadlines, and then a couple things to consider when applying. So here are the graduate degree programs. We have the Master of Architecture, which is a 3-year professional degree. It can be reduced down to advanced standing, which is now down to 2 years. We'll get into that in a minute of what that really means. But it is the standard MArch. You're just bypassing the first year. Same with the MLA. The professional MLA is a professionally accredited program, and it does have the advanced standing option as well. MArch and MLA have post-professional programs that will be covered later in the week in digital sessions, and those do require a professional program or a professional degree to apply, which we'll cover in a minute. The MUD is also a post-professional program, and the MVS has 2 cohorts within it, the Studio Art and Curatorial Studies. MFC will not be present at this info session. They have their own information session. I definitely encourage you to check it out if you're considering forestry studies here at the graduate level at the Daniels faculty. And of course, our research programs, we have a Master of Science Forestry, which is 2 years, a PhD in forestry, and then a PhD in architecture. Those will be covered at a later date digitally. We're just going to handle the graduate level, mostly professional programs. So here are the deadlines to apply. January 6th and January 13th. You must make your payment and submit your transcripts electronically by this date. Here, actually, I'm going to go into it a little further. So, what January 6th really means is the application and portfolio fees must be submitted. You also must submit transcripts and your referee contact information. That does not mean references have to be submitted by then. That means they need to have their contact information in there when submitting the application. And of course, if you are required to submit proof of English proficiency, that should be done at the time of application too. The application and portfolio fees total about $185. There can be a small service charge, apologies for that, but it is a total of about $185. So let's jump into the application requirements to the programs we're going to cover today. Across all cohorts, with the programs we're covering today, you need a final year average of a mid-B. What that means is that a final year average usually consists of your final year, or your last 5 full course equivalents. So if you're applying in your final year and your final year average is not there, we may go back into a previous year, as long as it's at a 300 plus level course, to determine your GPA. The requirement does still stand that your final year average does need to meet SGS minimums. So even if an offer were given based on previous grades, grade trajectory does need to be maintained, and that final year average does need to meet our requirements. So if you're an international student, a mid-B can be a bunch of different things. We definitely encourage you to visit the School of Graduate Studies International Degree Equivalency tool. What that'll do, like I said, it basically is a list of most countries, if not all, and what that really means. As you can see in like Chile, the number breakdown, because a bunch of different schools use a bunch of different grading systems abroad. So it's a great space to really understand what that means if you come from a school that's outside of North America. So transcripts. So when you submit your transcript, you do not need to submit an official transcript at the time of application. We just need a copy of a transcript to review. I mean, it should be truthful, and it should have all the information that would be on an official transcript. But of course, we're using it to review. And the only time an official transcript would be required is if an offer were given to then confirm from your institution if you've met confirm your final grades. If you don't have unofficial transcripts, or if you have a harder time accessing official transcripts, you can use what U of T essentially does. It's called like an academic history. As long as it comes from your school's official website or an official website processor. Because like I said, some people, it's only like official transcripts and they have to be mailed and it becomes a process. But if you're trying to get it in, the academic history will suffice for review. So the second part, after we have the application, your transcripts, any other things that I covered in a previous slide, we need the 5 supporting documents to pretty much all programs, except for the MVS, which has a 6th document to accompany its portfolio because it's a little dissimilar. The CV or resume, there's not a page limit or specific requirements, but we definitely encourage people to make sure to edit carefully because it is very important. 3 letters of reference. So you can have both academic and professional references are accepted. Some people either just come right out of school and all they have is academic references, or some people literally will work full careers, and academia was some time ago, and they have a better representation at the professional level. So those will definitely suffice. Your statement of interest is a 750-word statement of interest. It's basically what you propose to do while you're being educated here, what your intentions are. It's a way to communicate to the admissions committee outside of all of your materials. And then the writing sample. We get questions a lot about the writing sample. People ask, oh, can it be about this project or that project? The subject matter is less important than the actual quality of work. We just want to make sure that you have the ability to convey professionally, your ideas professionally, if you can communicate professionally, things of that nature, communicate effectively. And like I said, the subject matter is far less important. If all you have is if you have no academic writing samples and all you have are professional, we generally look for like a published piece or things of that nature under the professional heading. Now, as I said a second ago, MVS is a little dissimilar. They require a multimedia portfolio. We have an MVS session later today that will really explain what that means, along with a regular portfolio session, which really explains what that means. So like I said, I'm really going to talk about surface level portfolio stuff, but if you have questions about the portfolio, definitely stick around for our portfolio review session here at 5. But there are some things I can say. If you are applying to more than one program, it's important to have different portfolios for each application. Carbon copies are okay. If it's all you can produce, then that's that. But it is encouraged to have different portfolios for the different programs you're applying to. If you're applying to advanced standing, there's an opportunity to demonstrate the level of current designability as well as the potential to pursue advanced work in which you are applying. I'll explain what advanced standing and what the requirements can be in a little bit. And then we do get a lot of applications here from people who do not have design backgrounds. So if you don't have a design background, it should contain evidence of creative potential in other fields or creative projects you've done independently, which of course may not be part of your curricular program. If you come from business, you may not have academic portfolio stuff, so you can use either self stuff or creative potential in other fields. So there's some prerequisite courses that are required across some things. What's great about the Master of Architecture and the Master of Landscape Architecture is that they accept applications from pretty much all 4-year bachelor degrees. We don't require a design a design background when applying. We actually have students who will work full careers in fields that are completely different from design. They just have a passion for design and they loop back to it and they're very, very successful. Because we do teach you how to become a licensed architect or landscape architect at the grad level. So there's not really an expectation of having that design experience. I mean, it may benefit you as a student, but it's not a matter of you've not met a requirement or it'll help your chances to get in. We actually encourage people from different backgrounds because we want people that have different perspectives, different views on design. They may bring something unique from a background that they've done. That way we don't really train the one specific type of architect. It's great to have diversity in thinking and things like that. So what's great too is that if you do come from a design or a non-design background, the MArch and the MArch program does offer a workshop that starts before classes start that'll really help you get up to speed on communicating, some of the software we use, things like that, like a crash course on essentially architecture and design, so you can feel that learning can be a little easier for you if you're just not familiar with certain aspects of art and design and architecture. So math and physics are not required for MArch, but they are recommended if you were to gain entrance into the program. It just helps if you become a student, again, not to get in. So both the MArch and MLA programs have what are called advanced standing. So generally the advanced standing has its own specific requirements. You're essentially saying that you have completed essentially the first year of an architecture degree. And advanced standing isn't a matter of oh, this person's a great student, they're gonna do so well, they're gonna excel. It's literally requirement of the CACB for accreditation to have specific course completion. So you could be a dynamic student that's awesome, absolutely killing it, but if you don't have specific courses that you've taken at either the undergrad level or the grad level, you would not qualify for advanced standing. And even meeting those requirements do not guarantee advanced standing. Sometimes it can be determined that the regular standing is better, is a better fit, etc. And unfortunately, we really can't review transcripts to say, oh yeah, you'd suffice. The only time we really review for it is during the application process and the admissions review committee. So prerequisite courses for the Master of Urban Design. We get a lot of questions about the MUD because urban design is an awesome field. It's definitely a growing field, especially at the faculty and in Toronto. But the thing is, it is a post-professional degree, which means you do need to carry a professionally accredited degree either at the undergrad or grad level. We're not seeing as many BArch, professional BArch or professional BLAs anymore. They're being phased out pretty much across Canada and a larger part of North America. but there may be some from previous time that do qualify. Or if you have a good amount of urban planning or urban design experience generally at the grad level, you can be considered for admission in the program. But it does really require that professional degree. So the MVS program accepts applications from a wide range of four-year bachelor's degrees. There is one little caveat. Applicants are required to have completed significant coursework in humanities and cultural theory at the university level, and with additional requirement of curatorial and creative work. If you really do have a passion for visual studies and it's something you really want to pursue, and you may not meet that secondary space, and you feel like your application is strong enough, or if you have a strong enough passion for it, we definitely encourage you to apply. But it does kind of have that secondary requirement for it. So prerequisite courses for the Master of Architecture and the Master of Landscape Architecture post-professional programs are similar to that in the MUD program. They are post-professional programs. They do not award a professionally accredited degree. You would not use this to apply for licensure. It's something that you would need to already carry that professionally accredited degree, but it gives you a stronger breadth of the field. It updates on a lot of things that are happening in the field. And it is only 1 year as compared to the 3 years in the others. Now, if you have a question about whether your degree suffices as a professionally accredited degree for either the post-professional or the MUD, you can definitely check with the respective accreditation boards to see if your program does qualify. A lot of times, like I said, international students will do that. We'll have students that are practicing architects in other parts of the world that don't quite meet accreditation requirements or in Canada or North America, so they may not qualify for these courses. And the way to verify that is through the accreditation boards. Okay. Another thing too is that if you're an international student, there is an English proficiency requirement. International applicants whose primary language is not English, who graduate from university where the language of instruction was not English, must provide English proficiency. So we get this question actually a lot. People email us and say, oh, I have everything was taught in English, but if it's not listed on the SGS website and as an exempted country or region, then a English proficiency test would be required. And even if you do qualify, there may be a test that may be asked to be taken. Okay. So as we wind down, there's steps to apply is obviously choose the program, learn the application requirements, prepare the application. You're going to want to apply online with the academic background, if there are English language tests, referee contact information, and then pay the fees. The supporting documents that we've already gone over. So I'm just going to put the dates and deadlines up there one more time just so you can see them. But we encourage you to connect with us. If you have any questions along the way, you can email graduate@daniels.utoronto.ca. I monitor that email. It's usually within a 24 to 48 hour business hour response time. If you have an issue with contact information for your referees, or if you have questions about what can be submitted, we definitely encourage you to come check it out and email us, and we can get back to you really quickly because we want to make sure that you complete your applications. So, like I said, we're going to hold off questions until the financial aid portion is complete. I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Elizabeth Gibson.
Before you leave, just want to make sure. So, okay. Where's my note?
Can I sneak in? No. Can I sneak in? Here. There's no. Here. Excuse me for just 1 second. I'm just going to pop here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Gibson, and I'm the new Associate Registrar for Financial Aid and Awards at the Faculty of Daniels, or Daniels Faculty, I should say. The main thing that I want to emphasize before I get into the meat and potatoes of financial aid and awards is just the importance of having a budget and really taking the time to recognize how much you're getting from all your various sources and to put that into a type of schedule, a checkpoint in terms of the amount of months that you are in school with the amount of money that you're receiving. So here on this screen is just a list of some things that we like to highlight as to what that budget should look like. You would want to, for sure, review your expenses, make it realistic, make it accurate, also to explore all the possible funding that's available. And I'll get into that in a little bit. My focus, obviously, is primarily with you here at Daniels, but there's also many resources within the entire university and even externally from the university. And you would want to monitor your expenses. Obvious, but it needs to be said because sometimes situations may come up where a lot of things are spent overly, like in the beginning, and then you run out at the end. So you want to kind of pace yourself with that. And we encourage that you do that on a monthly or weekly basis. And again, just emphasizing the accuracy and keeping it close to what you really need to be focusing on. Here is just a quick list of exploring some of those resources. Family support, obviously, in terms of those who do have that family support, you would put that into the budget as well. Some students have savings, investments, and RESPs. We have the government, or you will have the opportunity to apply for government student loans and grants, which is the main one that's very common since we're in Ontario is OSAP. And then there are the government awards and scholarships. And that is something that is pretty predominant for grad students like yourself, which is a process that does come through my office, but then it does get channeled back to SGS in terms of those types of awards, which are through the government itself. There's scholarships within the university, awards and grants in our office here. Of course, employment opportunities, bank loans, and external scholarships. In terms of the RSP, pretty much it's a savings program that a lot of people have perhaps usually started off many years before they even came to school, and it's a program or a savings plan that you can utilize for school. The main thing from the provider, however, is to get the registration and also proof of your enrollment provided to them. So here on the screen, it just outlines the fact that you can make that request through the School of Graduate Studies and also print off your invoice of your fees, and that can be done that way. Or you can also email our office directly, and we can fill out the form and have it completed for you. In terms of government student loans and grants, many students apply for these things. The main thing for OSAP and things of that nature is that your status would need to be either Canadian citizen or permanent resident. Also, even protected persons, it's not up there, but it's another category that would allow you to apply for any type of OSAP funding, as well as there's other types of programs as U.S. loans. Some of you may be coming from the States, and there are application processes that are available for you. The main thing to keep in mind is that if you happen to be a dual citizen between America and Canada, you can apply for both, but you do have to make a decision at the end as to which resource you're going to use. So most students, what they do is they apply for both, see what the numbers are, and then make a decision from there. As mentioned earlier, these are just some links in terms of OSAP and other provinces, as well as the U.S. direct loans that we have available. If you happen to also be coming from a different province, there's also out-of-province loans and applications that are available to you as well. When you are applying for any of these things, you do have the option, we allow this here in the faculty and pretty much across the university, to have your fees deferred. And that means that you might be in a predicament where you just are not able to pay upfront what the fees are. So at that point, you can make a request. Some of students do it through SGS, some do it directly in our office, which comes to me, where we could defer your fees so that that secures your enrollment. So once you've selected your classes and you may be in a predicament where you just don't have the fees to pay upfront, you're relying on the loans or grants or what have you that you're waiting on, you can make the request officially to defer. I'm emphasizing it because sometimes when students have their window open, they make their selection of their courses and they think that they're fine, but it still doesn't, how should I put it, register you active and locks you in. So you want to make sure that's done. It's almost as if you are paying upfront. And also there's options for applying for different types of grants as well. That comes through our office for those who might be waiting on their funding, or there might be some delays or even some sort of denials with the funding that you're requesting. We do have the option for students to apply for grants as a form of support. So here we just kind of listed off some upcoming scholarships that are available for all U of T students. The recent ones here are the Canadian or Canada Grant Scholarship for master's students. Right now this year, because every year it kind of changes, this year the funding amount for that is approximately $27,000 over 3 consecutive terms. That's basically just allowing you to have that extra type of support. Now this process is done through the grad studies office, but there is a deadline if you want to apply, if you're interested, even if you are not in your master's program just yet, you're still an undergrad student and you are thinking about coming here and thinking about taking your program, you can go ahead and meet that December 2nd deadline. And the Ontario Graduate Scholarship Awards, there's both for the domestic and the international students. So for international students, it's March the 10th as the deadline, and for the domestic, it's April the 14th. Again, the processes are pretty lengthy. It gives you an opportunity to apply, submit your applications by the deadlines that you see on the screen here, and then once that's funneled through, then it gets elevated to the next level with SGS. And one of the other things here on the screen, it also addresses the Award Explorer that is available to everyone so that they can go through it and see all the different options and awards that are available to you. At Daniels, we have our own awards as well, and they're pretty much obviously for full-time graduate students who are eligible. We have admissions awards, in-course awards, travel grant awards, and graduating awards. So in terms of admissions, for the most part, that is automatic. So there's a lot of reviewing reports that are pulled to evaluate where you are at academically, and from there, there's a selection process. And for those of you who are successful in getting an admissions award, you will be notified accordingly. In-course awards are the same. As you are in your program, in your courses, basically it kind of speaks for itself. There's also a review process with that as well. And in terms of travel and graduating types of awards, that there is links on our website where you can go in, apply by the deadlines as you see it. Daniels grants. In case of any unexpected, like any kind of exceptional situations, I kind of touched on it, but this is more highlighting that here, is once you've exhausted all your options, you've applied here or there, you still might be in a predicament that you need a little extra support. We do have grant applications, and here you are allowed to apply once a year for that. In the fall, it's the deadline is in the end of November, and then again in the winter, it's March. There's also employment opportunities that you may want to explore. And here it addresses the full-time summer employment. It's an excellent way, well, what it's basically saying here is that you do have an opportunity to go ahead and work. A lot of the times, Some of the things that come to my desk is students wondering how does it impact them with their funding. It really doesn't, actually. Once upon a time, especially if you're interested in getting OSAP and things of that nature, there was a time where summer employment would hinder how much funding you would be getting up front, but it doesn't any longer, so we do encourage that. And then there's, of course, part-time employment throughout the academic year, whether it's through the work-study programs, teaching assistant, research assistant type of roles. Another option is a student line of credit. So alternate to government funding, that is also an option here. You do need, of course, if you're someone who has to explore this route of getting extra funding for your studies, is to find someone who most likely has a good credit history and would be able to co-sign for you that way. And typically repayment is within 6 to 12 months after leaving your full-time studies. Here we just have a list of just some external resources. Most people I find so far in my role is that there's a lot of options that they find already internally at the university. However, there are circumstances, especially if you're an international student, where you may want to explore the external options that are here. What we also provide as a university as on a whole is financial aid counseling. Now there's financial aid counseling on a central level with the University Registrar's Office. There's a team that addresses all types of issues in terms of whether it's OSAP, whether it's even if you're a part-time student, different types of grants. There's other types of awards and grants that are available outside of that on the central level. One of them is very popular called UTAPS, and that is basically a program that helps to supplement students who are getting their OSAP funding, and there's counselors that can assist you on that. Also here at Daniels, myself and others, we're here to help you to give any kind of financial guidance and support in that area, as well as the School of Graduate Studies. They provide counseling as well. And basically, these are the email addresses that are utilized quite frequently for students who have any questions. In case you don't want to ask a question right now, you can always send an email. Myself and the team can respond to any type of financial questions or concerns, or we can at least direct you in the right place so that you can get the answers you're looking for. That's it.
So now we're going to open up to questions. If anyone has a question, I can come over to you with the mic, and either myself or Elizabeth can answer. Does anybody have any questions? You in the front? Here, I'll be right there.
Actually, I have a question for you.
For me? You can still do it out loud.
Okay, cool. I just want to know, as an international student, do the deadlines are same as the domestic students? Okay. Okay, and if I study already in the U.S. and I study in English, I guess I don't need English proficiency anymore.
So, really great question about English proficiency. So it is a number of years attended that does qualify or disqualify you. So if you've taken like 2 semesters, we have a lot of students that will come from abroad that do like a 2+2 at like UBC or things like that, where they do partial parts of their degree elsewhere. All 4 years have to be within the country listed on the website. So if it's not all 4 years, unfortunately, it most likely would not qualify. You? Cool.
Hi, can undergraduate from Daniels apply for advanced standing for the master's?
So our program, unfortunately, does not qualify for advanced standing. It is a liberal arts curriculum at the undergrad level, so or a Bachelor of Arts in Architectural Studies. So unfortunately, it's just a matter of course completion, and our courses don't satisfy.
is there like a time limit where like transcripts or like writing statements are too old to apply and should be just left aside?
No, I mean, your material is really, it's up to you. If it's you, then absolutely. Some people just have really, or they've just done like course completion at a specific time, and you know, that's the only contextual thing they have within architecture, and that really represents what they are. Even if it was taken 5-6 years ago, it's totally okay. Yeah. Cool.
I have a question. Is the Masters of Architecture of U of T accredited for getting license after graduation?
Great question. So it absolutely is. Most people that enter the program will try to pursue becoming a licensed architect. This does satisfy the prerequisite of having a professionally accredited program. There are licensure requirements through the respective boards that you do need to satisfy, which include like time of work, work within a firm, X amount of work hours. But ours does, similar to like law school, does satisfy the prerequisite of completing a professionally accredited degree for sure. Oh, sorry. Whatever.
Thanks. Really useful. Thanks again. For the portfolio review session that still is this afternoon, is that going to, basically the question I wanted to have answered is a little more elaboration on things like the minimums and maximums for the portfolio size, the content. That is all coming. We should save those questions. Is that?
We can give you kind of similar parameters. There should be like 30 slides, a minimum of 5 projects, whether it be individual or part of a group, as long as it's properly noted that it's part of a group. But yes, all that, the parameters, size, what's expected, what you can use will all be covered in the portfolio session for sure. I'll come back around to you. 1 second.
I think you mentioned once you were offered an admission, you had to send your transcript, but is it hard copy? Am I?
So, also,
Could you?
great question. Especially after COVID, hard copy transcripts have kind of phased out from a lot of schools. As long as it is an official transcript from either the school or the school's processor, like U of T uses Parchment. So if it comes directly from Parchment to our graduate email, that suffices. Once upon a time, we would have piles of official transcripts, seal and all that. But again, silver lining in a way, it actually, we transitioned to a ton of digital transcripts. Yeah. I think she was next, but then after you.
I was wondering if you could give us an estimate of how much it costs for 1 year to do the Masters of Architecture.
So as an international student and a domestic student, they are different. A domestic tuition is just under $12,000 a year. I want to say in the Masters, or excuse me, international can be above 50 Canadian. Yeah. Oh, way in the back. Cool beans.
So I have 2 questions. The first one is for the writing samples, the 20-page limits. Is that limited to one project, or it can be a combination of all?
So it generally is one project, but if the 20 pages represents you with multiple projects, that's fine. Yeah, it's like, yeah, of course.
And then the second is the MArch workshop you mentioned. Is that limited to the MArch only, or it can be applied?
Great question. So if you were like an MLA admission and you wanted to take the workshop, I'm certain you can take it. Like I said, if they're MLA and MArch accept applications from people with non-design backgrounds, so it would be really open to them too. Yep, and it is free. Oh, we have a number. Sorry. I think
I have 3 questions. The first thing is going to be about what type of undergrad CGPA are like the average or something that Master of Architecture program wants. And the second would be, are Daniel's undergraduate students kind of like, yes. And the third question would be, how many are picked per year?
All great questions. So no, there is no preference for Daniel students. We have students that come from business backgrounds that are glowing students, and they really do succeed. There's not a preference or a quota that we have to fill. Sometimes we have a lot of Daniel students that come in. We do have a number. Sometimes we have a little fewer. The CGPA, like I said, we're looking for a mid-B in your final year. And what was the last one again? How many Daniel students? Oh, so I will say we don't do admission ratios, unfortunately, but an incoming MArch class will be generally under 100 students. Yeah. So again, we wouldn't publish that, and B, it can fluctuate. We do get a good number because people do love coming here, and they do the natural transition. But again, there's no preferential treatment. You apply just as you would if you came from MIT or any other school, and there would be no preferential treatment or quota that needs to be hit. We'll say we probably have time for 3 more questions.
Will the portfolio review situation be recorded? And if not, would there be another instance of something posted online?
So the record, I believe it will be recorded. Rest assured, we have a previous workshop recorded on our website now. So even if it were not to be, we have one from Laura Miller from a few years ago, but of course it's still relevant because it's the same academics.
I have 3 quick questions. So first of all, for the writing sample which is followed by it, does it have to be, I guess, like followed in your academic, I guess, like journey? So say, for example, you take a liberal arts and basically you're required to do a report from that, and that could be part of a writing sample.
Yep. So it does not have to be part of your academic background. Like I said, some people have far more professional writing or published writing, and that's a better representation of where they are at the moment. And your only academic was maybe when you were younger, or you've evolved, or professional writing actually represents you a little better. So no, it does not have to be limited to academics, for sure. Yeah.
And the second question would be, I guess, followed by the previous question from the classroom size. Is the MArch program, is it like a cohort-based, or does it run as a regular class?
So it's a course-based curriculum, but you are cohort-based. You are moving with your cohort. Yeah. Sure.
So I know I'm a little bit late. Is this, I guess, like slide, will it be provided online or?
Also, great question. Anything on the daniels.utoronto.ca, essentially all of our email addresses without the location and at daniels.utoronto.ca will have every inch of everything we've covered today. Yeah, for sure. Of course. And was there one more question I saw? Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. As international architect or international graduate from abroad, do I have to evaluate my degree through CACB or through SGS?
So it depends on which program you're applying to. So if you're applying to the professionally accredited MArch, the 3-year program, it does not need to be verified. If you wanted to apply to the post-professional, you would need to prove that your undergrad degree or grad degree was a professional degree to then take the post-professional course. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. We have time for one more question. I do know a class is coming in. And before we go, I do want to announce that the MVS session, if you were scheduled for that here later today at 4 to 5, it's actually going to be moved to DA 200, which is upstairs. If you do come back here and you don't know where that is and you'd be escorted, we'll bring you up.
Thank you. Is it possible to apply for a master degree when we already have a master degree in the same field in another international institution?
You can always apply. It's really up to you. If you said you have if you have a master's degree that's professionally accredited and it's recognized in Canada, I mean, it's really up to you if you want to do it again in Canada. I don't want to say it might be a waste of time, but it's really how you want to process your time, because you do have a professionally accredited degree that's already recognized in Canada. But if you want to, you can, absolutely. Cool. I believe that is the last question we have. Like I said, return back here for the 2 p.m. Master of Architecture session with the director, Vivian Lee. We will be adjourning for about an hour. There will be a class coming in here. And like I said, the MVS session at 4 to 5 will be at DA 200. If you feel more comfortable meeting here, we can bring you on up once it starts. Cool. Thank you.